The girls with powers, not only magical, are the kind of characters that sometimes can be on the limit of which can be considered as magical girls, superheroines, or some other kind of character. That's why the main girls of Zettai Karen children barely qualify as magical girls, similar to Esper Mami. This comparison with Esper Mami is the most logical with this series, because in the same way, on this series we follow the story of girls that have psychic powers, but with a more action and heroic tone. This is the story of the three girls, Kaoru, Aoi, and Shiho, whom are some of the persons with stronger powers on the agency where they work, called Babel, which is in charge of training, controlling, and give a useful occupation to all the people with psychic powers on Japan. And specifically these girls, whom are called the children, have the mission of preventing disasters and crimes, mainly the ones done by outlawed psychics, using their different powers, which are telekinesis on Kaoru, teleportation on Aoi, and psychometry on Shiho. But for protection for everyone else, and for them sometimes, they use some devices with the shape of accessories that are limiters of their psychic powers, reducing the level of their powers almost to none, and these ones are deactivated by their supervisor when they need to get into action, giving the look of magical girls transformation items. In fact, sometimes when the limiters are deactivated, they change their clothes to Babel's uniform. Along this series, we'll see how the girls solve many cases, discovering little by little the story of each one of them and their supervisor, Koichi Minamoto, who will be the only adult in which they start to trust a little more every time when he shows his real interest and concern for them, and when he understands the problems they face when they're socially ostracized for their powers. This series keeps its classification of magical girls because the protagonists are three heroine girls with psychic powers as magic and accessories that are a variation of the transformation items. Besides that, eventually they'll face a mysterious main villain. This series is aimed for teenage boys, since it includes inside the story, besides fanservice, a plot where slowly many of the girls will be attracted to the protagonist man, Koichi, like the ones on the harem genre. But overall the story is more focused on the comedy and action, in addition that the fanservice is more discreet than in many others, so it might be fun for every audiences, up from teenagers. In recent years, it's difficult that anime series like the ones of magical girls show original stories and concepts, because inevitably they'll be influenced by one or many of the many existing series, many of them very important, even more if instead of trying to make something original, they try to make something that has attractive features for the fans, mostly the fan service that has become more and more overexploited. This is the case with Twin Angel, a series that came out from characters of a slot-like game machine that presents the story of a pair of heroine thieves that are mostly inspired on Saint Tail and Sailor Moon, but with an action style. The Twin Angel team is made up by Haruka and Aoi, which receive a portable transformation device having the mission of steal and protect important items that are mainly stolen by the evil organization Black Trader, becoming their main enemies. With the transformation, the Twin Angel can fight with criminals when obtaining Haruka super strength and special attacks, and Aoi, besides the same agility as Haruka, a bow that shoots with great precision very powerful arrows, showing with this very intense physical combats distinctive of an action series. These first and few OVA showed a good and exciting story that presents one of the girls' most critical battles, and a few years later it came out a 12-episode TV series that deepens more on the story and the character's universe, adding a partner for the Twin Angel. This series, despite that it has its good amount of fanservice, It has good action sequences, so besides being recommended for men, it can also be attractive for fans of action series, but with the magical girls theme. Along anime's history, and in animation in general, since most of the productions are made for children and more recently for teenagers and fans, has a long and strong relation with the toy and video game companies, being based in many products. With Jewel Pet, this association is very important, because this series came from a Toys and Stuffed Dolls line, created jointly by Sega Sammy, the video game's developer, and Sanrio, famous for its characters like Hello Kitty. This story begins following the animals called Jewel Pet that live on the Jewel World, where they study to become great wizards, consequently having each one a different degree of mastery of their magic. But one day, in order to clean all the kingdom, all the Jewel Pets are gathered in front of the queen, who turns them into jewels to go to sleep while the cleaning is done, being then carried by a bird to the Dream Forest. But on the way, by accident, the Jewel Pet are dropped, dispersing on the city of Takaragaseki on the earth. And the only Jewel Pet that isn't lost is the bunny girl, Ruby, because she was wandering while all of that happened. So the queen, as a punishment, sends her as a jewel to the earth to bring back all the Jewel Pet. The Jewel Pet have a specific magic associated to an emotion, so they have an affinity for the persons that show with more intensity such emotion, waking up in front of them and becoming their partners. So Ruby, since she's the Courage Jewel Pet, she ends up appearing in front of Rinko, who wishes to have courage to give a speech a few days later, since she was elected as her group representative. So she becomes her partner that will help her to look for the other Jewel Pets. In order to wake up Ruby and the rest of the Jewel Pet, Rinko receives a magical book from Keigo Tatewaki, a young man that knows a lot about the land of the jewels and the Jewel Pet, becoming her advisor and intermediary. That's how a lot of persons in the city will get their Jewel Pet. But Rinko and her friends Minami and Aoi become more important because they'll be the ones that will find the others and will solve the problems with them. The magic from the Jewel Pet comes from the gem in their eyes, so it's used to invoke the emotions which is related to them, being able, for example, to bring out the love of some person, but the effect is unpredictable, because all of them are apprentices, mostly with Ruby, which fails more doing magic. Despite that much of the magic comes from the Jewel Pet, they need their human partners to be able to use it in our world, and especially in Rinko's case, because she's the only one who can use the magic book, being at some degree a Magical Girls series since they have a shared magic. Because this series comes from toys, with Sanrio's designs, it's visually flashy and colorful, and mostly targeted for little girls, becoming popular not only on Japan, but also in Europe, having their toys good sales, and extending this series to more seasons that follow independent stories to these ones. After watching many recent series of magical girls that are more and more aimed to a male audience, inserting a lot of fanservice and comedy, these ones ignore a lot of times the themes that originally were more important on the genre, like the romance, the drama, and the adventure, making them less suitable for most audiences. Umi Monogatari is a series that breaks with that trend, telling us a story of some girls that live in the sea, who decide to visit the people on the surface with the excuse of returning a ring that they found at the bottom of the sea. So these two sisters, Marin and Urin, meet Kanon, a hot-tempered girl who is the original owner of the ring, who wants to get rid of it because it's a gift from her ex-boyfriend, which she has broken recently, and the reason she has a bad mood. These events unleash a battle to survive because Urin accidentally breaks the seal of an evil spirit, awakening shortly after the old talking turtle Matsumoto, who will discover the hidden powers of Marin and Kanon as the sea and sky priestesses, being the sky the way the people on the sea call the surface. As priestesses, they'll get a transformation and special powers that they'll use together to fight the creatures created and infected by the power of the evil spirit, becoming that their mission, to prevent it becoming more powerful, enveloping everyone into darkness. The characters of this series are based in a popular pachinko game, but it has Junichi Sato's own style, who we know for Sailor Moon, Kaleido Star, and Aria, because like in many of his series, this one has a slow, contemplative, and positive style, adding its good amount of drama that fits very well with the story. So we'll see the characters coming of age, making strong friendship bonds, mainly between Kanon and Marin, something that will help them face evil. Without a doubt, a series suitable for every audiences, but maybe not attractive for fanservice and action seekers. Despite that on most of the Magical Girl series is explained at some degree the origin and the way the magic works, many times linking it with another words, with a natural or ancient and forgotten origin, or with a divine or holy origin, usually they only give an overall explanation of its nature. Yoku Wakaru Gendai Mahou is more focused on that explanation, because the magic is explained as a supernatural phenomena that works like a computer program in code that only persons with inherited powers or trained enough can manipulate to manifest the magic. From there it comes the concept of the series, where we follow the stories of the magicians or wizards Koyomi Morishita, Misa and Ehara, and Yumiko Christina Ichinose, and how they learn and improve their magic, that besides being used as a profitable service for many clients, it will be used against those that use that magic against everyone else. In this story, there's two ways to use the magic, with traditional methods thanks to the skills of someone that inherited his or her powers from an ancestor, like in the case of Yumiko, or using modern tools, like computers, to make the compilation of that magical code easier and faster, like in the case of Misa. Besides, because that way the magic works, it's possible that any person with enough training and potential could use it, like in the case of Koyomi, which for some reason, any spell she makes results on the invocation of a metal wash basin. This series is based on light novels, despite that fanservice and characters design could make us think on visual novels, so the story is well developed, telling us how normal girls become magical girls and become more powerful. This series, despite that sometimes include fanservice, thanks to its story, it could be interesting not only for a male audience. As the Magical Girl series have evolved with the taste of some fans, trying to become more attractive for a male audience, there are less series that follow the original formulas and formats, aimed for a female and younger audience. Animal Tantei Kuruminsu recovers that audience when it shows us the story of the three sisters Riko, Rimu, and Nagisa, which are doctors of biologists and zoologists, which discover the legacy of their grandfather's research about the animal's DNA. So, one day Riko and Rimu discover by accident their grandfather's old lab, where between all his old experiments, they find some devices called Kirumin, that when they call them by their names, they transform them into a smaller version of them with outfits and features of their respective animals, similar to what happens in Tokyo Mew Mew, being able on critical situations to completely transform into that animal. Later, these two sisters share these secrets with their older sister Nagisa, being able to transform the three sisters, Riko into a cat, Rimu into a bunny, and Nagisa into a dog. Besides, when they tell it to their mother, we discover that she already knows about the Kirumin, being one of the few persons to know about their transformations and give them advice about them. Eventually, the sisters will learn to get better control of their transformations and animal skills, creating a group of detectives with another two persons that will get the two remaining Kirumin, keeping the secrets of their transformation, while they help the people when solving many cases. And for these heroes, it come out as their counterpart, a group of villains that come from another country, which also have the skill of transforming into animals, causing a lot of mischief as part of a secret plot that could affect the city of the protagonists. Besides, they're being closely watched because their transformation and the interest they have for their grandparents' research. The character design is cute and colorful, becoming very attractive for little girls, which is its main audience, with simple and catchy theme songs and a theme that revolves around animals. The story is mainly comedy and adventure, with some moments of romance for little girls, resulting very fun and varied, very recommended for a kids audience mainly because it's simple and light style.